Greetings, Guardians of Dominion. Zeus here with another powerful video. Today, we're diving into a topic that every player needs to revisit, the best offensive and defensive tanks in Hero Wars Dominion era. A lot has changed in the past year. New heroes, new mechanics, and a major shift in the meta have reshaped how tanks perform on the battlefield. Some old favorites are making a comeback, while others have fallen behind. So if you want to stay ahead of the curve and build smarter teams in this fast-paced era, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's jump in. First, I will start with offensive tanks. The top offensive tank in Hero Wars after Lyria's debut is Galahad. Lyria opened up the perfect opportunity for Galahad to shine. Before her arrival, Galahad was a forgotten hero, rarely used and often overlooked, mainly because dodge heroes like Dante and Aurora dominated the battlefield. His powerful attacks simply couldn't land consistently, making him ineffective despite his offensive potential. But Lyria's passive aura changed everything. By massively reducing enemy dodge and amplifying incoming physical damage, she cleared the path for Galahad's swords to strike true. Now, Galahad is not only viable, he's deadly. With a fully offensive kit, physical attack artifact, and the ability to deal pure damage with his ascended iron skies, Galahad can carry an entire team's damage output. When paired with the right heroes like Tristan, Sebastian, and Lara Croft, he transforms from a sidelined warrior into one of the most dangerous tanks in the game. In our previous content about the best tanks, we already highlighted Corvus, and this year, he's back on the list. But this time, he's stronger than ever, thanks to the arrival of Lyria. The synergy between these two heroes has made a real difference. Both Corvus and Lyria belong to the undead faction, which means they benefit from shared buffs and unique interactions. One of Corvus's key skills, Strike of the Damned, lowers the enemy's defenses, including dodge, making it easier for Lyria and Kira to land their hits. Then, with Unity of the Damned, Corvus directly boosts the physical attack of Lyria and Kira, helping your damage dealers hit even harder. But the real reason Corvus earns a spot among offensive tanks is his signature skill, Altar of Souls. Each time an enemy deals damage, this altar strikes back. It's incredibly effective against heroes who rely on multiple hits or area of effect damage. And in game modes like Foundry battles in Clash of Worlds, Corvus remains a top pick because the altar's damage scales with his max health. So the more health you build on Corvus, the more damage he returns, making him both a tank and a silent punisher in your lineup. Now let's move to the last hero on our list of best offensive tanks, Aurora. Just a year ago, Aurora held the crown as the most dominant offensive tank in the game. But the arrival of Lyria changed everything. While Aurora still brings a lot to the battlefield, she's now far more vulnerable when facing teams that include Lyria. The issue lies in Aurora's core defense. Unlike most tanks, she has very low armor, and her primary way of surviving physical damage has always been her high dodge stat. But Lyria directly counters this by significantly reducing dodge, leaving Aurora exposed to physical attackers. Without her dodge advantage, Aurora can't shield herself the way she used to. That said, it's important to remember that offensive tanks are chosen by the player, and that gives you the freedom to pick your fights. You don't have to use Aurora against Lyria teams. Against lineups without Lyria, Aurora still performs at a very high level. She not only protects her allies with dodge, but also deals significant magic damage, making her a powerful offensive tank when used strategically. Now let's move on to the best defensive tanks, and once again, Rufus still holds the crown. He remains the top defensive tank in Hero Wars because he's the only one whose skills and stats work together to counter all three damage types, physical, magic, and pure damage. Rufus's artifact grants bonus armor to the entire team, providing strong protection against physical attackers. Then comes Reikashi's barrier, a skill that absorbs incoming magic damage, shielding both himself and his team from powerful mages. But what truly makes Rufus unmatched is his skill Reikashi's Oath. Thanks to this ability, Rufus can only be killed by physical attacks. That's right, if you bring a full magic or full pure damage team, Rufus simply won't die. Of course, there are a few exceptions. Heroes like Jet or Morrigan can bypass this limitation with specific mechanics, but overall, Rufus is still a major threat in many team compositions. His ability to shut down entire damage types makes him the ultimate wall in the Dominion. Next up is Julius, one of the most unique tanks in the game. Unlike traditional tanks, Julius doesn't rely on high armor or magic defense stats. Instead, his real strength comes from his skill defense matrix, which surrounds his entire team with a powerful shield. By default, this defense matrix has a capacity of over 300,000, already impressive on its own. But when Julius is paired with Nebula, that shield can scale up to over 1 million capacity. What makes it truly special is that it absorbs all types of damage, physical, magic, and even pure damage. That kind of universal protection is incredibly rare. Because of this, we often see team compositions where Julius is combined with Rufus. Together, they form a defensive wall that many players struggle to break. Julius is especially dangerous in the Engineerium, where he gains energy faster and activates his shield more frequently, making him a true nightmare to deal with in that zone. And the last tank I want to mention on the list of best defensive tanks is Astaroth. A few years ago, Astaroth was considered the best tank in the game. But today, I honestly debated whether to include him at all. The reason is simple: he's outdated. Compared to newer tanks, Astaroth hasn't aged well in terms of stats or skill impact. However, there's still one reason he deserves a mention, and that's his final skill, Last Word. This ability allows Astaroth to resurrect a fallen ally or even himself once per battle. It's not about constant protection or high durability, it's about saving your team from sudden, unpredictable burst damage. When a key hero is taken out too early, Astaroth brings them back and gives them a second chance. It's that one moment of redemption that can turn the tide of a fight, and for that alone, he still earns a place among the defensive tanks. Overall, after the introduction of Asgard and the red artifact upgrades, I believe the balance between offense and defense has been broken. Tanks no longer have the same power they had a few years back to protect their allies. Back then, tanks were the core of many defensive strategies, reliable, durable, and capable of absorbing massive amounts of damage. But today's meta is completely different. Fast-reacting teams with high burst damage dominate the battlefield, often eliminating key heroes before tanks can even activate their protective abilities. That's why, even in defensive setups, we're now seeing more offensive tanks like Aurora and Galahad. These heroes not only stand on the front line but also contribute serious damage, giving them more impact in battle. In the current environment, it's not enough for a tank to just survive, they need to fight back and help control the pace of the battle. And there you have it, Guardians, the top offensive and defensive tanks in today's Dominion meta. Galahad's rise after Lyria's debut, Corvus's punishing altar, Aurora's burst damage, and Rufus's unmatched survivability all show how each tank brings something unique to the field. Julius adds universal protection with his massive shield, and even Astaroth still earns his place with that one powerful resurrection. But as we've seen, the game has evolved. The days when tanks were pure defenders are fading. With fast, high-damage teams dominating and Asgard upgrades shifting the pace, tanks now need to do more than survive, they need to hit back. So tell me, who's your favorite tank in the current meta? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss what's next. Until then, Guardians, salute and friendship.